thought there was a process, and you were working your way through that process, and then according to the article in the paper, the process had kind of been truncated by saying, you know, the candidates that interviewed, I guess, failed to measure up because the chief was staying. And so it left me with a question of what happened in the interview process. Did the collection of chief of police or police officers who received the interviews or participated in the interviews, did they recommend anything back to the supervisors? Was the conclusion that those three candidates are not qualified and will not be considered in the future? What happened that resulted in what the article said? If the article was correct, that would be another thing to comment on. And then this, from the article today to this letter, can you give us the background on what happened to get us here? And then, of course, what are the next steps?
Okay, well, yes, there was a process, but we did not get any recommendation, and it wasn't because none of them were qualified. I should have believed they were all qualified. However, we did not get a recommendation from them. Okay, because in the meantime, Rick decided he would stay, and we had requested that because we have a program audit for the Homeland Security. We have some issues with, you know, we wanted Rick to stay, Carolina, stay and clear up. We've had a Homeland Security audit, which Rick is very familiar with. We have a lawsuit out right now with some officers, and we also have the police contract. So Rick agreed to stay, and then actually because of some things that happened, and you probably read the article in the paper today, which was not accurate, we received this letter tonight. So that's about all I can tell you. And I think you know, we can go into exactly the aspects.
Jane, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the whole thing. I just want to understand. Did the 4 police chiefs meet?
Yes.
Okay, did they come back with a recommendation? They haven't come back with who they should recommend.
No.
When do you think that's going to happen?
I don't know if it is.
Why wouldn't it?
I don't know. Why? Because Rick decided to stay. Now we're going to move forward. Yes, Mary?
Rick decided to stay for a week. We stopped a process that was well on its way because one person decides to stop it. Now, a week later, this person has again resigned, retired, whatever word we're going to use.
For the third time.
And now, we don't know what our process should be.
No, that's what we're going to decide. Okay.
But they met already, didn't they? I wasn't, I'm sorry, I wasn't done. So they met, and they just haven't come back to you with their recommendation? Is that what you're saying today?
We don't have anything, no, we don't have anything.
So they didn't say who should be the police
No,
chief?
they did not. So
Okay.
that's, no one said anything, so we don't know. We don't know. Anything. I don't know if
You know, I'd like to ask that question of
I don't know
Frank
if
Hess.
it is.
Frank, is that, I'm not sure, I'm not
I
following.
know we got nothing in writing because the process was stopped. My actual, the way I look at it is we should go back to that and let the process end.
Okay.
Because at this point, we need an end to this. It has to be, and that has to be done. This township is upside down over this, our policemen are upside down over this, and it shouldn't exist. All we have to do is go back to those men and get our answer. Whether the chief does or we don't do, it doesn't make a difference.
So they didn't come back and say Phil Riley should be the next
No,
chief?
they did
No,
not.
because the process was stopped.
Okay,
We have to continue that process.
thank you, sir.
But we don't know, no one was chosen. I don't know what people think. Someone was chosen, that person was not chosen. So I don't know, because we have 3 good candidates. So it could be, they could have decided if either one of these three, but, or any one of these three, but we did not. Yes.
Dan Lyons, I represent Phil Raleigh, one of the candidates. It's my understanding that you guys set up the process with the...
No, we did not set up the process.
Okay, but you were aware of it.
Yes.
But you didn't set it up yourselves? But you had, at one of your meetings, you said you were looking at a committee of, in the comments of the minutes, that you were looking at a committee of former or current police chiefs. And I understand it was a interview set up with 3 former, current, Bojan, Williams, and Lambert.
It was set up by the people.
Yeah, and you're aware of that was done. And they interviewed the 3 candidates on July 20th, is that correct? And which is 11 days ago. But they have not formalized, we don't know if they ever voted, we don't know what their vote would be. Nobody knows that, correct?
Maybe it's to my
Well,
knowledge.
they know if they did, but nobody else does, is that correct?
The chief might know.
Well, okay, but it's not been made public.
I don't think the chief knows because they didn't make it.
I just say.
Well,
that
wait,
might-
I mean, that's what you were looking at before, and I understand that they had a list for my client, and they had a list of questions they asked all three candidates. Why don't you use them and ask them to finish your report? They were put together, I don't think anybody questions their integrity or competency. Why start the process over? This is only a week delay. They have done the interviews, you put all three of these candidates through an interview already. And why don't you ask? Nobody knows what the report is. We don't know. Mr. Raleigh doesn't know. I don't know. All we know is what you told us. They met. We understand they stayed in the room a little longer. What they discussed, we don't know. So we don't know what the recommendation is, but
No, we don't.
they've done it. It's already been done. Why won't it be used again? And you can get, I don't know.
We have not made that decision.
Well, I mean, I realize that if you're going to executive session, I don't think any of us, any in the audience questions the competency and integrity of the three committee members, Lambert, Bojohns, or Chief Williams. They already met. Why do you even reinvent the wheel? That's what we're looking at. But you're stating on the thing, you did not authorize that committee. Is that correct?
We didn't send it up, no.
You didn't authorize it. Did you authorize Mr. Staples?
All right, I mean, at a
I'm
certain
not
point, this is not a
understanding.
cross-examination, this is a comment period.
Well,
I
when
mean,
she's
let's-
answering my question, Ms. McManus, she's chairman.
Comment period, they don't even have to, as you know.
They don't have to, but she can if she
But
wants
I
to.
mean, we're going to have
Mr.
cross-examination here, I'm just saying, how many times do you want us to say what she's telling you? Let us go into executive
Well,
session. We're trying to say
and I
what-
was making recommendations for executive session, was I not?
Well, you can, but I don't think that's what you're doing, that's
Well,
why.
I did for the most part of it, didn't I?
We'll be here all night if everybody wants to ask 50 questions over the same
No.
thing, let's move on.
Okay, go ahead.
Jane, who did set up this committee? Police chief.
And where is he?
Did they just quit and say they didn't want to do it anymore?
I really don't know. All I know is that Rick decided to stay, and it was more or less disbanded,
So the committee was reporting to the chief.
recommending.
Okay.
They did not give us a recommendation. I don't know what, I don't know. I don't think they recommended anything. I don't know, because it wasn't recommended to us. Yes.
Jen, how are you doing? Just a quick question. You say there was some inaccuracies in today's newspaper on the story.
Yes.
Could you tell us what those
I could.
inaccuracies are?
Yes, I did.
Would you please?
There was no meeting between Harold and I as that statement was written, and we did not forget about Frank Pettis, as he stated. That was not,
You told me you forgot about me
I did not.
when you had a meeting with the chief.
How could I do that?
Excuse me, are you telling me that Frank didn't say that?
I'm telling you.
Frank, is that
I
true?
said,
I don't know what he
amongst
told
them,
the,
I was not included in the meeting. No, I
we
was
didn't
not.
have a meeting, Frank.
Did you have, I'm sorry, maybe it wasn't a formalized meeting, but was it a conversation between two supervisors and one was not there in reference to the situation? In reference to. Was it a conversation between two supervisors and one was not included? Not as a formalized meeting, but as a conversation? Okay.
Now, we do have an assistant police chief, you
Yes,
know.
we did.
So, could the assistant police chief step in temporarily and be the chief until we finish finding a chief? I mean, is that an option? Or do we have to, it seems that the air here is that we have to find a replacement immediately. I think if we were to, well, you were to, or whoever does that, was to just simply install the assistant chief as the new police chief on a temporary basis until you find a new chief. I don't think it's as difficult or complicated as the audience here is making it out to be.
But they went through the process. They already interviewed everybody. What are you talking about? Pat Rose, we'll
Finish the
miss
process.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I asked one question, and it's only, is there a possibility of an interim police chief in this town without actually making a promotion, demotion, if
There's
possible?
acting, well, actually, the assistant police chief was the acting.
Serve as the acting.
Yes, as acting, not as a police chief.
Right, not promoted to, but as acting.
He would take over the duties, as the assistant police chief, he would take over the duties until such time as a new police chief is selected.
Right, same as if the police chief was to become injured or
Exactly.
sick,
Right, exactly.
on vacation.
Jane, you say that there wasn't a meeting that I was excluded from? I have a letter from the chief here. Supervisor Hess, I have been asked to delay my retirement till the end of 2011. I have agreed to delay my retirement as requested. That letter is just to me, because I didn't know what went on, so he wrote me that letter.
No, that doesn't mean we had a meeting. Each one of us has the right to talk to that police chief anytime he wants. And that's what we do.
We're not supposed to be.
Who made the request to Chief Staples to delay his retirement?
We have been asking him for a long time to not retire until the end of the year.
So Harold and you asked the chief to delay his retirement, and was that during a meeting?
No, that was on individual
It's to cover up all the gravestones.
months ago.
Okay.
We've been asking him, because especially, Mary, when this Homeland Security audit came up, because that just happened, and that we found out, we had to do this program, which your firm is doing. And, we found that out, and then we said to Rick, you know, would you please stay, because this has to be, you know, we need you here for this, because, but that's, and also because of the fact that it's a lawsuit.
I would have trouble understanding how you requested him to stay months ago when his original retirement letter hasn't been months ago.
He kept saying no, 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 and then he finally said yes.
I understand, but his first letter where he was going to retire gave his date as June 30th. That's 30 days ago. Okay? So to have had the conversation months ago really wouldn't fit into the timeline appropriately. So I would have to say that at some point within the last 30 days, you've been asking him to stay. Whether that was
We've been
4
asking him to
weeks
stay
ago?
for years. Since he said he was going to retire, we've been asking him to stay, Mary. I have been, so has that.
I don't know why you would ask someone to stay if they hadn't officially retired, but okay.
He hadn't officially retired.
Well,
It wasn't done at a meeting. We didn't accept his retirement.
But that's just saying, like, Phil can't handle this.
Hired or was it volunteer?
Um,
Volunteer.
Yes.
Are you going to use the suggestion of the committee when, if they do tell you which police officer they
I don't
want?
know what we're going to do. We have to go into executive session and decide. At least that seems to be the consensus.
Again, I know you've heard this 100 times, but why would you again reinvent the wheel? Why don't you just use what they say? You've already went through the process.
Well, how do you know who's going to be, I mean, why?
We don't know. It could be any three of them, but what we're saying is why, evidently there's a reason why you don't want to do what they want, who they've asked.
I don't know.
I don't believe that.
Chair,
Yes.
may I answer this? Please feel free to jump in as counsel anytime you like. The reason the Board of Supervisors wants to go into executive session and discuss this is because it involves an employment matter and a promotion. So they want to discuss those matters outside of the public because they're allowed to under law because it involves an employment matter. And they need to discuss also how they want to move forward. They cannot make any decision in that executive session. They will have to walk right back out of here, discuss it publicly, and render a decision.
Why would we have a committee to investigate a future chief, that if you're not gonna listen to the committee's recommendation or follow through with the board that has already met.
Well, I think that's a question for discussion by the board, because what I heard here this evening, and frankly, other than the newspaper and what I've heard here this evening, I haven't heard anything that I can put my common opinion on. But what it sounds like to me is the police chief assembled the committee, which frankly, I know one of those members on that committee, and I have the highest regard for that person. So, but apparently the police chief decided this, so I guess the first question for the board to discuss is, at any point in time, did you as a group bless them, or did you individually give, a tacit approval? Those are things they need to discuss, and frankly, sitting out here, because it's an employment matter, it's more appropriate for them to do that in executive session.
I've lived here for 30 years and I've never attended a meeting, but I can't understand how all the supervisors are not in communication with each other on any decision. That's why we voted for these supervisors, to work as a team to make sure that every resident of this area is well protected as a chief or anything else that comes here. For Mr. Hess not to be involved is totally, I would think, and I'm not a lawyer, illegal.
More am I, don't play one on
Okay,
TV.
and that's my opinion.
It's,
I mean, we voted him as a supervisor, we voted you guys as supervisors, that all the supervisors should attend every single discussion that is held for any matter in this township.
Madam Chair, if I may suggest, now might be a good time for you to recess into executive session to discuss the employment matter, and then come back so you can more fully answer any questions, discuss it publicly in another session.
Yeah, I did have two options. I don't know if you're going to intend to be executive session on that. If so,
We can't hear you.
can't hear you. I don't know if the board has any idea whether or not this will be a lengthy executive session. If so, you have a few other items on the agenda. You may want to swap them around and just get those out of the way. I think you have some people here for something other than the police chief.
We do.
And then maybe get those taken care of, then go into executive session and come back and revisit that again. If you think it's going to be nice, you think it's going to be 5 minutes long, you probably have no idea how it's going to be, so.
I think that's, I'm going to take, I'm sorry, Mr. Moran.
I'm gonna say, we do not know what the results are. Right, and so, where you say, some people think they know the results, they don't. That's why we're saying, go ahead and figure out what they did. Look at the process and see if it was fair, and then use that committee. Why reinvent the wheel? We do not know the results. Mr. Raleigh doesn't know, no one knows the results. And there's rumors around, some people think they know the results, we don't. Why not, if you guys believe that's a fair and competent committee, look at, I understand there was questions that could have been drafted by somebody or used that each one of the interviews, I'm not even sure of that, we know that there was a series of, we weren't here. All I can tell you is my client said they had one question and one of the chiefs asked all the questions. He assumes they were asked everybody else the same questions. If it was a fair process, use it. It makes sense, and I'm just
I
saying.
think you've already made your point.
Okay, well, I'm saying, but you keep
And I realize you're
saying,
an attorney anyway.
no, but you keep saying we know the results, we don't know the results. Nobody knows the results, unless one of those people were here telling us the results, nobody knows the results. So don't presume we know the results. We're willing to stand by whatever results come out of that committee.
Okay, well, we will be going into an executive session. I would think that Tim's suggestion is good. We'll go on with the business and we'll go into that executive session later. Is that okay with you? Okay, appreciate your attention while we continue with our meeting. Bids and sewer project, we don't have any tonight. Construction engineering, our engineer is on vacation this week, so we have Mike with us tonight.
Good evening, everyone. There's no ongoing construction.
Thank you. So we have the SE.
Since the last supervisors meeting, I've conducted 2 slope roads, actually 3, but 2 is on one lot, and 1 repair. I've also been working with, I'm the alternate zoning officer, I've been working with our zoning officer, Steve Malak. We have accumulated quite a few properties that have the work's been done on it, but the applicant has never applied for a final CO on the property, whether it be a deck, whether it be a shed, in addition to the structure. And we've been compiling lists, and I've been going out and doing the site evaluation to make sure that the work is